Good. Great. Okay. So you're hosting it along with me today. All right. Nice. All right. Good evening, people. This is Rudra, and I'm on DC Live, where we care, we share, and we are on air. Thanks for having me, Priya. As always, it's a pleasure to be on DC Live for me. Are we good to start? Can we start? All right. Thank you. Okay. Hi, people, wherever you're joining me from. And this is a Quick Brain, the Minimalist show that we have today on DC Live, where we care, we share, and we are on air. It's Thursday, 5:30, and we are here. And thanks for joining from wherever we are. And what do we explore today? What are we going to talk about today? Usually we talk a lot about learning. Why do we have to learn? How do we have to learn and everything? But today I'm going to talk about something very basic that you have to learn. Why is body language, your tone, and your language important in workplace or in any communication? Okay, we're going to talk about something that is very important, but it's beyond your voice. I'm going to call this communication beyond the words. I'm going to talk about your body language, your tone of voice, and the kind of language you choose to use while talking. Let's think about it this way. Okay. You spend all the time crafting a perfect email, putting together a brilliant presentation, or preparing for a big meeting. But the minute you walk into the room, your body starts talking, correct? The way you stand, the way you deliver, the way you gesture, the way you acknowledge. That's all of the thing that is something that shows you or your unspoken language. It tells people whether you're confident, whether you're listening, whether you would rather be lost. Correct? That's how it is. Now we're going to talk about this in the next few minutes, breaking down how these three things, which is communication beyond words, your body, your tone of voice, and the kind of language you choose to use. That's what we're going to talk about. And I'm not going to get complicated here. I'm going to just keep it simple, humanly, and very actionable for you. Okay. Let's talk about your body language. What are the three things that talk about your body language? That's very easy to fix, right? But most often we overlook your posture, your eye contact, and hand gestures. Now, I've seen this, most of us do this mistake while we stand in a meeting, while we talk or address a crowd. What you do with your hands is very important. Okay? And that's part of the posture. While I'll talk about the hand gestures later, but then that's part of your posture. How do you stand and where do you rest your hand? I've seen the best influential people also do this mistake, which is to have their hands in the pocket. Never ever have your hands on the pocket. That's a bad posture. Second mistake, having your palms or your hands rest on your hip. That's another thing. Don't do that. These are two important things about your posture. If you're seated, don't be slumped in your chair, right? Right, meaning you're just with your back rested, your hands on the top of your head. Don't do that. Okay. Sit up straight, shoulders just straight. And people, when they look at you, it makes a lot of difference. Okay. Even when you're virtual meetings, try this. It helps you. Okay. Now, that is not only a message to your people who are listening to you, but also for yourself, because your brain tends to tell you how do you represent yourself. Are you representing yourself as confident, interested, not interested? And that is what matters, correct? That's actually what matters to you. It's very important how do you stand. Another thing, don't put your foot on the wall and stand one-legged. That's a very bad posture. Don't drop your shoulders. Keep your shoulders high. That's about your posture. Okay, the next time you're talking to someone, the next time you're delivering something, it's important that you follow this. Okay, you stand straight. Okay, it's very important. Sit up straight. That's important. Okay. Now let's talk about a little bit about eye contact. This is a very tricky one. Okay, because in some cultures, what's the right amount of eye contact is very, very important. So be aware of the environment. But generally, in a one-on-one conversation, looking someone in the eyes shows you're present and respectful. Imagine I'm talking to you and I'm not looking at your face. I don't look at you. When does it happen? It happens when you come home late and your mom is questioning you, why were you late? And then you don't have an answer, right? That's when you do that. Don't do that. Okay. But at the same time, keep also withdrawing your eye contact. Do not stare. Don't make it look like a stare. It's very important. You don't need to stare down on them or on anybody who you're talking to. Okay. All right. Just look, listen, and occasionally nod, and take your face off with a real involvement, and then come back with a verbal nod or your hand gestures. That's incredibly engaging for the other person that is conversing with you. Now, the second thing, when this is on a one-on-one, how to manage eye contact when you're talking to a group of people. Do not look at one person alone. Do not look at one person alone. There's something called the lighthouse effect, which is, imagine you're delivering a speech. You're delivering a speech to a crowd in a room, closed room. So the left bottom, which is the left end from wherever you stand, and then that's to the left and the most outward, right? So which is the left corner, okay? Opposite corner, left opposite corner, you start and then get your eyes towards the right outer corner, okay? Left outer corner to the right outer corner. That forms like a V for you, right? Like a lighthouse that moves from the left and then back towards right to left, left to right and right to left. That's how you look at when you talk to people in a group setup. Okay. Now that means that you're not concentrating on one. That also means that you're not looking at one person intentionally. You're looking at the crowd. Okay. That's what is covering the people. And it's called lighthouse because that's how a lighthouse moves. Okay. That's about your eye contacts while conversing. Now, hand gestures, very, very important. As I told you, keeping your hands in the pocket is something that is not appreciable. That does not give a very professional appeal. I've seen most of them do it when they talk to others. The best way to leave your hand is at your shoulder, at your shoulder level. Do not stretch it, and then leave it straight down. Maybe your palms folded or not at your hip level, and your legs are at the at the distance of your shoulder. That's how you stand. Or clasping, like you must have seen people usually clasping both the palms. That is not a great posture, but then it is better than having your hands in the pocket, okay? Like both your palms together. That's what it is, right? And so that's how it is, right? So also use your hands to show the enthusiasm, the conviction, but do not overdo it. Don't keep fidgeting, playing with a pen or checking your phone, or just playing with your fingers of each other hand as if you're flexing it, or pressing the fingers. Don't do that in a meeting or any conversations or in public speaking, or while you're having a conversation one-on-one. Keep your hands, if you're seated, keep your hands on the table and keep it in front of you. If it is on your, if you're seated, it is going to be on the center at your chest level. That's what you do with your hands. Okay. Now, before I'm going to give you a tip for the next week. You have a meeting. Take 2 minutes to stand or sit, and with your shoulders straight, hands on your, the way I said, you can clasp it, you can keep it next to your shoulder on your hips, and then try how does that. Give it a shot and see how confident you sound even before going for the meeting. Try that, people. All right. So try these postures, try these gestures, and especially do not point with your fingers. Whenever you're pointing to someone, use the entire palm to point. Do not point fingers. Pointing fingers is not a right way of doing things. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop here and see if someone has a question, or Priya wants to say something, or is there someone else who wants to ask me a question? Okay, great. Okay, next up is the tone. Tone is something which is like which is what makes if one half is your body language, the other half is your tone. Okay. Think about it. I want to say you're participating in a conversation, and I say, that's a great idea. Okay. How does it sound? That's a great idea. It's very important. Now, let me say this again. That's a great idea. That's brilliant. Are you kidding me? Right. So when you do this, it's miles apart, right? That's a great idea. You don't say that that's a great idea. Your tone's not right there. That's a great idea. That's with an excitement. And you say that's a great idea. You don't want to sound grumpy. That's a great idea. You don't do that. So it's very crucial, because most of us also have ourselves speaking in phone calls and meetings or in person. It's very important that you have the right speed, the volume, the inflection, which is your high and low of your voice. When you're asking, I'll talk about each of them. When you're asking a question, making a statement, and that's very, very important. I say 3 things, right? One of them is your speed, volume, and inflection. When you speak too fast, you sound nervous. Okay? It's hard for people to keep up with your good ideas. Try consciously slowing down, and then use slow-paced stress when you're delivering important information. Makes you sound calmer and more deliberate. Volume. How loud should you be? It's always good to have a moderate volume, which is not that you whisper, not that you're just kind of muffling your words. Do not do that, but also don't shout, right? No one likes being verbally loud when someone else is speaking. Do not do that. So what you do is you have a moderate, clear volume that shows that you are calm, number 1. Number 2, you believe in what you're saying. Number 3, you also have the confidence in what you're speaking. Okay. Does someone have something to ask? Right. So the next one is inflection of how your pitch changes. When you're asking a question, your pitch. Oh, you lost the 3 lines? You couldn't hear me? Sorry? Which one? So the speed, the volume, and the inflection? All right. Sorry. So when you're asking a question, your pitch goes up at the end, right? Like, is this what you want me to do? Right? This is what we're talking about. So at the end, it rises. If you state an opinion, your pitch goes up. Okay. Again, can you help me with that? Okay, that's what it is. And then if you're giving a statement, let's go ahead and do that. So when you say let's do that, let's talk about it tomorrow. Okay. So there it's a flat pitch. That's a dropping tone. It kind of gives you that command over when you're talking. Now, the quick tip that I would say is whenever you're talking the next time, whenever delivering a conversation or something, just keep this in mind. Or even sometimes just read out a paragraph with this kind of a inflection, volume, and the pace. It may sound a little, little. I don't want to use that word, but then, it could sound a little unusual for you at the first. But this is one of the fastest way to become aware. How can you go ahead and do this? Okay, that's very, very important for us to practice. Right? Now, lastly, your language itself is very, very important. Okay, we're all working in professional settings. Okay, but it doesn't mean you have to sound like, without a human touch and all of that, and then use only big words or great words and things like that. Okay. Now, let's use a little bit of humanly connected words. It's very important for us to do that. And you also say, some phrases that's very positive. That's very, very important. Positive language is very important. Best practices. And then sometimes we all think about it this way, that using complex words, richness of vocabulary, and the way you would want to place longer sentences, right? So that shows how well you wanted to be contributing towards that conversation. However, sometimes using simple language is very, very important. And it also reflects clear language, shows confidence, because it means you understand the topic well enough. There's a saying that goes, it's the person who can explain complex things in simple terms has understood it well. Okay. You can explain the simplest of the things in a complex way, but then explaining the complex things in the simplest way is somewhere that you have understood it very well. Okay. When you use plain, straightforward language, sometimes it makes that conversation easy, right? But then most of us tend to use a lot of corporate buzzword lingos, right? So we use that corporate lingos, what we call as. So that's what you got to be very, very careful about, right? So the corporate lingos are something that we go ahead and use. Okay. And you got to also use sentences which are probably in the language, especially which are giving negative feelings towards other people. That's very, very important when you use the right language. Okay. Now, especially when you're giving another opinion. Okay. Now you start off by saying, this is just my opinion, but what you say, but yeah. So what is that but? All right. So that's very important. And then just state your point. Let me see if it works for me. So you're like snubbing the other person. So that's where you can go ahead and say, let's look at the opinions that both of us have, and maybe we can think together on what works the best. correct? So that's a very important way of putting things across. That's where you go ahead and talk in a very positive language. Okay. All right, so let's look at few of the scenarios that you can come across where you will have to use this 3-4 things that we spoke about, right? So putting this in situations where you'll be in when you're talking about it. Number one, in your conversations, day-to-day conversations, in your team meetings, in your client. Why not having it when you are having conversations with your friends, with anybody else? You definitely have these conversations. So the next time you're doing, you're having a conversation, think about how's your body language, what's your hand gestures, and how do you use an eye contact, and what's the tone of voice that you are trying to use, okay, that you want yourself to be sounding. That's very important, okay. And when you talk about the voice, 3 important things, which is speed, volume, and inflection, is very, very important. Lastly, about the language itself, okay, the positive language, the collaborative approach, openness is very, very important. So these are the things that's going to help you over using corporate lingos and corporate buzzwords is also a challenge. Okay, I'm going to stop here before I close it for this week on Kwik Brain, the Minimalist. If someone has a question, someone wants to ask me something, either Priya has a question for me or someone. Anybody? Anything? No? Okay, I understand nobody has a question. So that's all I had. Quickly to wrap up this session today, it's about not about what you know, it's also about what and how you show what you know, right? The body language, stand tall, make eye contact, use intentional gestures. Look at this as a part of the conversation. Tone, slow down, speak clearly, make sure the music of your voice matches your message. Language, be human, be simple, and say what you mean with a lot of positivity and confidence. Okay? These aren't something which are gigantic, which are not accessible. These are skills which you can learn. Practice small, consistently, and start practicing it right now, today. That'll make a lot of difference when you wake up tomorrow. Right? And more importantly, be willing to learn. Thank you. This is all the time we had for this week's Kwik Brain, the Minimalist. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to join us next Thursday on the same show at 5:30 p.m. on DC Live. This is Rudra from D-Touch signing off. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep remembering on DC Live. We care, we share, we are on air. Thank you. Thanks.